And what is up, Dragon Ball Super Master players? We are here with a deck profile today, and if you don't already know who I am Sparta. I am usually on a separate channel, one of my own, of course, with Shadowverse Evolve, and I'm on the separate sister channel that also talks about Shadowverse. Do highly, encourage you to check those out if you already haven't before. But in this video, we're going to be talking about a Dragon Ball Super deck. And with the title, as you can see in the background, we are going to be talking about Super Baby. So this is going to be the white version of Super Baby, and this is going to be a very interesting deck just because all the other baby decks were kind of just like yellow or red, and they kind of like focused on the brainwashed engine. But this time it's actually going to be very different because I know the deck is going to be running off of Servant because that's usually what brainwashed already do. But the servants are actually going to be able to be recycled unlike they usually are in the other decks. All right, so let's go over and transition into the deck profile here. So we're going to keep things very simple, and I will go ahead and read aloud the cards. Of course, I will give my own partake on everything, but there's usually a whole wall of text when it comes to these Dragon Ball cards. So I'm going to try and read through them very quickly, and then I'll break them down to as simple as possible just so you can get a good understanding of what these cards are going to be after I'm done reading them. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our leader card. So we have the white baby leader. So activate main once per turn. You can choose one of your white battle cards and switch them to hidden mode, and you can draw one card. And you can also awaken when you're at 4 or less life, or you have 2 or more hidden mode cards in your battle area. You can draw 2 cards and then add cards from your life until you have 6 left. All right, and then moving on into the backside, so we do have the Awakened Leader, so Baby Revenge achieved. So auto, when this card attacks, you can draw 1 card and then play up to 1 white Brainwashed card with an energy cost of 3 from your hand, and then choose one of your white battle cards and switch it to Hidden Mode. And then looking at the activate main, once per turn, we can choose 2 cards in our battle area and switch them to Revealed Mode, and then we can choose up to 2 white Baby and or Brainwashed battle cards, and they get plus 5k for the turn. All right, so just going to go ahead and spoil here that Servant is going to be part of the Brainwashed engine. That's usually how most of the Brainwash has been playing. So flipping these Servant cards into the Hidden Mode is going to be very important, especially if they're already switched to Rest Mode from them attacking, because flipping them over will make them be able to restand, and then you can flip them back over into Revealed Mode, and then you already have a Servant card already ready for you. All right, but let's go ahead and get into the deck. So let's go ahead and start off with our extra card / negates, and these are the 3 negates that we are going to be focusing on in the deck. Alrighty, starting off with our first negate, so we have Battle of the Gods of Destruction. So this is a very good hard negate to have, and it also just replaces itself in your hand, which we really do like in Dragon Ball Super here. We do have this amazing permanent to being able to go ahead and switch one of our hidden mode cards to rest mode in our battle area, which is going to be pretty nice because we're going to be playing cards on our opponent's turn too that can be switched to hidden mode. And then we have another hard negate, which is honestly a neg2, but it has a very good ability of choosing any one of our white cards and switching them to hidden mode, which can definitely help in terms of whenever there's going to be attack directed to one of our boss monster cards. All right, and then lastly, we have our last negate, Revenge Death Ball, which is a very good card just for, good removal in terms of like board states. So if you have a lot of hidden mode cards, which you should be doing on your turn, of course, by switching your server cards to hidden mode, and then having the amount of hidden cards being turned on your opponent's turn when you get into a hard negate is going to be very pesky when your opponent does get into their turn and they want to swing very wide. All right, so we're going to transition into our battle cards now. So we're going to start talking about our 1-drops. All right, so starting off with our first 1-drop, we do have Bulma, Erosion of the Mind and Body. So this is a good servant card because having it be a 11k is pretty awkward for our opponent to remove, especially in the early turns, especially if we're going to switch this card to rest mode to potentially swing. So this is going to be a very interesting card to have on field. Not only for the fact that it's going to be able to let you look into the top 5 for any white baby or brainwash. There's no energy requirement there, which is very good for a 1-drop. And then of course the auto limit 1 for when it is switched to revealed mode. As long as we have 2 or more energy, one of our white baby cards will gain double strike for the turn. Also, now looking at our other 1-drop, so we have Bulma Implanted Loyalty. So this is another servant card, but it is counterplay. So we are going to be playing this on our opponent's turn. So being able to play this is going to allow us to draw a card, and any white or brainwashed cards that we do want them to be switched to hidden mode during the rest of our opponent's turn is going to be pretty helpful, especially going for a Revenge Death Ball final. All right, so getting into our 3-drops, so the brainwashed cards that we are going to need, that is kind of like the core. So these are the 3-drops that we're going to be needing that's going to be applying pressure to our opponents. All right, so we have our first servant card here. We have Bulma Implanted Loyalty. So this is a good hard negate to be throwing into the deck, especially since this is only going to cost 1, and we do get to replace the card out of our hand. So essentially you just play it for 1, negate the attack, draw a card, and then you switch her to hidden mode. And then looking at our next brainwashed slash servant card, which is going to be very helpful for hiding our cards. We have Sun Gohan, Erosion of the Mind and Body. We can go ahead and play this for 1 off of the activate main to go ahead and draw a card, which is going to be helpful for replacing the card in your hand. And on top of that, when this card is played, we can choose one of our white baby or brainwash cards and switch them to hidden mode so they can't be attacked the very next turn. Alright, and next we do have Trunks, Erosion of the Mind and Body, which, mind you, on the auto has to happen on your turn when this card is played. So when this card is switched to revealed mode during your turn, you can choose one of your baby or brainwash cards to get plus 10k power, and of course you can spend the 1 white to go ahead and play this card from your hand. Alright, so looking at one of our rares for the deck, so we have Super Saiyan Sun Gohan Implanted Loyalty. So this is another 3-cost brainwash card, which is going to allow us to change one of our hidden mode cards to revealed mode, which is going to be very helpful, especially when we already swing with our servant cards and then switch them to hidden mode, and then they switch back to active mode with hidden mode. We can go ahead and play Super Saiyan Sun Gohan to flip those cards back over. Of course, they won't have the autos proccing off, but we will have another 15k servant or even a 20k servant on the field. Alright, so this next card is a must-have for the deck just because it's going to be putting pressure on our opponent. So we have Sun Goten, Erosion of the Mind and Body. So when this card is switched to revealed mode, it gets an extra plus 5k power and it gets double strike for the turn, so that's very good. And then originally we can just play this for 1 to go ahead and draw a card and then play this card from our hand. Alright, so next up we have our SR, which is actually some good removal for the deck. So outside of hiding our opponent's cards, white usually doesn't really have that much removal, so having Super Saiyan Trunks Implanted Loyalty is going to be good, just because when we do flip this card from hidden mode to revealed, we can go ahead and choose one of our opponent's cards no matter what the cost, and then we can KO it. Alright, so taking a small break to review here, so all of the 3-drop cards we did look at are able to get the extra 5k from our activate main ability on our leader for the backside. So that's very good because they already have the plus 10k with servant, so giving them the extra 5k will make our opponent combo more. And then mind you, some of these cards we don't even have to pay 1 for just because our leader is able to go ahead and put these cards from our hand into the field. Alright, so the next card we're not going to go over too much. This is just the super combo, and this is a Bulla. This isn't brainwashed or anything, but this is the card that came out in the set, and until they release a super combo that allows us to pitch 2 and draw 2 for generic white, then that's what we're going to be using right now. Alright, so let's talk about the last pieces of the boss monsters we do have in our deck, or the cards that are kind of what are going to be kind of like climbing up into the late game. So these are the cards that we are going to be using. And come on, people, what kind of Dragon Ball deck would we be if we didn't have at least 1 Son Goku card in it? So we do have Super Saiyan Blue Son Goku Power Through Evolution. This is a good deflect card, so they're not going to stop this card from coming into play. If there's like a secondary window where this card gets switched to rest mode, you know, boohoo, we just missed out on 20k swing, just because this activate main ability is going to be more important. Just by switching one of our white cards in our battle area or energy to rest mode, hidden mode, gotta learn a new mechanic now. Switching that card to hidden mode is going to KO one of our opponent's card no matter the cost, so that's going to be very good. And on top of that, our white leader is going to get plus 20k power for the turn. And let's be honest, nobody is going to combo out of a 35k swing, so they're going to need to hard negate your leader attack. Alright, so we're looking at our first baby card, which is able to get double strike from our 1-drop Bulma that we looked at earlier. So we have 6-cost Baby Conquest Ambitions. So this is a card that we are going to be playing for 1 from the activate main, just because as long as we have 3 or more energy and we have a white baby leader, which of course, you know, we already have, we can just play this for 1. And when this card is played, we can choose one of our white brainwashed and switch them to hidden mode. This card is played, we can choose one of our opponent's battle cards and switch them to hidden mode, and they can't be revealed until the end of their opponent's turn. So of course, you know, just stunning a card for 1 turn and then it's not going to get any effects. It is flipped on its backside, so you get to look at your opponent's sleeves very nicely. But of course, giving this card double strike is going to be quite the problem just because this card has dual attack as well. So having a dual attack 20k double strike is going to be pretty pesky. Alright, so the next card we're going to be talking about is a bit of a mouthful, but I think this is a pretty good card to be sticking into your deck for at least like just 2 of. So we have Omega Shenron Wicked Fury, so this is a card that we can play for 1 as long as we have 2 or more energy, and then we're going to choose one of our cards and one of our opponent's cards and switch them to hidden mode, and then the next time we start our next main phase, we can switch those cards back to revealed mode, and then we can play this card from our Z deck just because this is a good 1-cost 25k. It's unfortunately we're not going to be able to draw a card, but we do get the value of this card on the very next turn, so stunning one of your opponent's card is going to be the main focus here. Alright, so do save me from the comments from grilling just in case I do mispronounce this word, just because the adjectives for Dragon Ball Masters have just gone like way up past, you know, 29 sets. Just give me a break. I might not be able to pronounce this, but we do have Baby Evil Agglomerate, excuse me. you can spend 2, even colorless, which is pretty cool for those hidden mode cards, to go ahead and play this card as long as we have 3 or more energy. Unfortunately, we're not able to draw a card, but being able to activate main to play one of our brainwash cards that are 3 or less, and of course switching them to hidden mode so they're able to switch back into active mode the very next turn, it's going to be pretty helpful. And then we have another activate main by choosing one of our hidden mode cards, which aren't really serving cards that isn't going to be Sun Goten or anything, because we need those double strikers, to being able to place it at the bottom of our deck and then drawing one. And the big fact that this card is a 30k dual attacker, and of course when paired up with the 1-drop Bulma, this is going to be a 30k dual attacker double strike. Alrighty, so lastly, let's talk about our SCR for the deck, which is kind of like just archetypal tone for it. Alright, so lastly we have our SCR, so we have Baby Avenger of Ruin, so it's a dual attack blocker, which is pretty good when it comes to blocker abilities. When this card is played, we can choose all of our opponent's battle cards and switch them to hidden mode. Additionally, if our opponent's life is at 2 or more, we can place 1 card from the life into the drop, and then our leader gets plus 10k power until the end of our opponent's turn. We can activate for 3 colorless to play this card from our hand, and then we can also activate once per turn to choose one of our hidden mode cards in our opponent's battle area, place it at the bottom of their deck, and then we can draw 1 card. Alright, so this is a big board clear, I will say, because if your opponent doesn't have the means of switching those cards back to revealed mode, this is kind of pesky to deal with. So being able to switch those hidden mode cards to the bottom of your opponent's deck, especially if it's like a big boss monster that doesn't have barrier, sending that card right to the bottom of the deck while you also draw a card to your hand, is just very good. And then on top of that, this is kind of like the Cumber SCR or the Evil Mass Saiyan, whichever you want to use the literal term for it. Being able to spend 2 to being able to choose one of your opponent's life and place it into the drop, while also giving your leader the plus 10k for survivability the very next turn, it just screams SCR. Alright, so we're going to transition into the Z deck, and we're not going to talk too much about any of these cards because most of the Z deck cards aren't going to be too useful for the deck, but these are just some things that you're able to consider when filling up for your Z deck. Alright, so I don't want to take too much time on any of these cards, so we do have our Z Extra, which is going to give us the plus 10k and plus 15k power in the activate battle phase. But this next card that I do want to talk about is actually a very good Z battle card to be including into our deck, because it will help us put more revealed cards onto the field. So we do have Pan Support, it's 2, you can play her, she has Deflect, and when she's played you can choose one player's card and switch them to revealed mode. We do have an activate battle once per turn to choose 1 battle card from our drop area in the combo with the skills negated, which helps us with our Z energy. Now I'll let you viewers kind of experiment what you want to use outside of the Pan Support and the Z Extra, but we do have the Topo Fierce Foe, nice 1-cost dual attack unison. If it has 3 or fewer markers, it can't attack, but if you're able to get those markers up there and this card kind of like keeps as it does, since it is 20k, it is a little bit harder to, take care of it, but having the 3 or more markers is going to have it turn into a 20k dual attacker, which is pretty cool, just because when we do +1, we can give this card the plus 5k, so it turns into a 25k dual attacker. Alright, so another card that we're going to be needing to put some pressure onto the board is Jiren Immense Being. So this is a nice 2-cost card that has Deflect, so no counterplays are touching it, but this permanent ability to stop it from being removed at least once, just as long as we have at least 1 hidden mode card onto the field to place that into the drop area to stop him from being removed. And then on top of that, we do have this activate battle to go ahead and pay the extra 1, so turning this into essentially a 3-cost in the same turn to choose one of our white cards in our battle area to switch it to hidden mode and to give this card plus 10k power and double strike for the battle. Alright, so some good removal just in case we don't already have it in our hand. We do have Son Goku pushing new power, so this is a 2-cost Deflect dual attack, so whenever this card attacks we can choose one of our opponent's battle cards no matter the cost and switch it to hidden mode and then switch it to reveal mode at the end of our opponent's turn. So yeah, everybody, that is the entire baby deck that we just went through. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. Mind you that we do have webcam locals every Thursday at 6 o'clock, so do show out in the Discord. I will have that in the description below if you don't already, so please feel free to join that if you want to participate in our webcam locals. We have open prizing, so basically how that works is that if you want prizing and you want packs, you can pay for that, and if you want to play for free, you're able to, and proxies are allowed, so you don't have to, ball out for a game you don't really even want to fully commit to. We allow proxies in our webcam locals, so feel free to come out. We would love to have you. We don't currently run right now, but as soon as we get 6 people or even 4 to run around robin, would absolutely love to see you all playing. All right, everybody, that was the entire deck. Thank you so much for listening to me. I have been Sparta on All-in-One Gaming Generation. I hope you do check out the website if you haven't already. We absolutely love more people to come into our community and play in our card game tournaments. And alrighty, folks, that is all that I had for you today. Make sure you're safe in all the choices that you make today and for the rest of the time. And then make sure to drink water and read your Bible verse. All right, y'all, make sure you stay safe. See ya.